Cottage cheese looks like the perfect health food. Soft, white curds, packed with protein, low in carbs. Doctors recommend it for seniors. It feels safe, comforting, responsible.
But what if the brand sitting in your refrigerator is hiding dangerous bacteria, excessive sodium, or additives that interfere with heart and blood pressure medications?
Today, we're exposing 9 cottage cheese brands you should avoid and 2 that are actually safe.
Coming in at number 9, Breakstone's Cottage Cheese.
Breakstone's has been a familiar name for generations. Your mother probably bought it, your grandmother too. That blue container promises simple dairy goodness and the creamy taste many people remember from decades ago. It's marketed as a trusted family staple, something you don't even think twice about tossing into your cart.
But there's a lot that familiar label doesn't tell you.
In recent years, Breakstone's parent company, Kraft Heinz, has received multiple FDA warning letters related to manufacturing conditions. Inspectors flagged problems with temperature control during storage and transportation. And for cottage cheese, temperature isn't a small detail, it's everything.
When dairy products sit even slightly above safe temperatures, bacteria begin multiplying fast. You can't see them, you can't smell them at first, but they're there, doubling every 20 minutes while the product sits in the danger zone.
The surface still looks clean. The color looks normal. But inside, bacterial growth may already be underway. For seniors, that's not just inconvenient, it's dangerous.
Listeria monocytogenes thrives in improperly handled dairy. According to the CDC, adults over 65 are 4 times more likely to develop serious listeria infections than younger adults. For seniors with weakened immune systems or chronic conditions, the risk climbs even higher. What might cause mild illness in a younger person can mean hospitalization or worse for an older adult.
That creamy texture you trust could be hiding a serious threat. The familiar taste may come with fever, muscle aches, or a hospital stay.
Then there's the sodium problem. Breakstone's small curd cottage cheese contains over 400 milligrams of sodium per serving, nearly 20% of the daily recommended limit for people managing high blood pressure. And most people don't stop at 1 serving. 2 servings puts you close to half your daily sodium limit. 3 servings pushes you into risky territory, especially if you're taking blood pressure medication.
The American Heart Association links excess sodium directly to higher blood pressure, increased stroke risk, and heart disease, the leading cause of death among Americans over 65.
Breakstone's sells comfort and nutrition, but spoonful by spoonful, it may be quietly stressing your cardiovascular system. Your doctor tells you to watch your salt. The label tells you this is a healthy food. Those 2 messages don't line up. They promised safety. They promised health. But the warning signs are hiding in plain sight, and most people never think to look.
Why do you think brands are allowed to call high-sodium foods heart-healthy? The answer may surprise you. At number 8, Daisy brand cottage cheese.
Daisy has built its entire reputation on simplicity. Clean white packaging, a single daisy flower. The promise, only the good stuff. No artificial ingredients, no preservatives, no gums or fillers. Just cottage cheese, the way it's supposed to be.
In a store full of ingredient lists that read like chemistry exams, Daisy feels refreshing. Seniors trust it because it looks honest. When you can pronounce every ingredient, it builds confidence. But simple doesn't always mean safe.
Consumer testing has found that some Daisy samples contained higher than expected bacterial levels, suggesting potential sanitation issues during production. The curds looked fine, the smell seemed normal, but lab testing revealed bacterial growth your senses could never detect. For younger adults, that might cause mild stomach upset. For seniors, especially those taking acid-reducing medications or antibiotics, it's much more serious. Lower stomach acid means fewer defenses. Bacteria that would normally be destroyed can survive, multiply, and cause severe illness.
What passes through a 30-year-old without trouble can send a 70-year-old to the emergency room.
There's another issue Daisy doesn't emphasize. Because they avoid preservatives, their cottage cheese has a shorter safe window once opened. Many seniors eat a little each day, keeping the container for a week or more. Without preservatives, bacteria multiply faster after opening. That container you opened 5 days ago may look and smell fine, but the clock started ticking the moment you broke the seal. The FDA estimates foodborne illness sends over 128,000 Americans to the hospital each year, with seniors accounting for a disproportionate share of severe cases. Daisy promises purity, but purity without strict handling can open the door to pathogens. The curds still look clean. The texture still feels right, but what you can't see may be the greatest risk of all.
At number 7, Friendship Cottage Cheese.
Friendship has been making cottage cheese since 1900, more than 120 years of dairy history. Their branding leans heavily on tradition, family values, and time-tested recipes. For seniors who remember when food felt simpler and safer, Friendship feels comforting. The vintage packaging reinforces that sense of trust.
But the reality is more complicated.
Friendship cottage cheese contains carrageenan, a seaweed-derived thickener that has sparked years of scientific debate. While approved by the FDA, multiple studies link carrageenan to intestinal inflammation, especially in people with sensitive digestive systems.
A 2017 review published in Environmental Health Perspectives found that carrageenan triggered inflammatory responses in intestinal tissue at levels commonly found in food. For seniors dealing with IBS, colitis, or chronic inflammation, this additive may quietly worsen symptoms.
You might blame age, or stress, or a new medication, but the problem could be sitting in your fridge.
Friendship has also faced complaints about inconsistent quality. Some batches are smooth and fresh. Others are grainy, overly sour, or oddly textured, suggesting lapses somewhere in the supply chain.
One week it tastes fine. The next week, something feels off.
At 70, with a less resilient immune system, you can't afford that kind of gamble. One bad batch could mean days of digestive distress or something worse.
Friendship promises old-fashioned quality. But sometimes old-fashioned means outdated practices that haven't kept up with modern food safety standards. The cottage cheese may look the same as it did decades ago, but the bacteria are very much a modern threat.
Isn't it strange how brands lean on heritage and tradition while quietly using questionable additives? At number 6, Kroger brand cottage cheese.
Kroger is the largest supermarket chain in America. Their store brand products fill shelves nationwide. Millions of seniors buy Kroger cottage cheese every week because it's affordable and convenient.
When you're living on a fixed income, every dollar counts. Kroger's version sits right next to name brands at a much lower price. The price feels smart, but the quality may not be.
Store brand cottage cheese is usually made by contract manufacturers. These companies also produce name brands, but under different specifications, and that's where the trouble often begins.
Lower price usually means looser standards, fewer inspections, less margin for error.
And when it comes to dairy, seniors pay the price when something goes wrong. Name brands usually demand stricter quality controls, higher-grade milk, more frequent testing, tighter oversight. Store brands often use the very same facilities, but with looser standards. The equipment is identical, the workers are the same. What changes is the level of attention depending on whose label ends up on the container.
FDA inspection reports from facilities supplying Kroger dairy products have flagged recurring problems: inadequate cleaning between production runs, poor employee hygiene practices, and temperature deviations during storage. These aren't one-off mistakes. They show up again and again. And when the same issues appear year after year, it tells you something about priorities.
For seniors managing diabetes, Kroger Cottage cheese carries another hidden risk. Some varieties include added sugars or modified food starch to improve texture and flavor. These ingredients can quietly spike blood sugar, making daily glucose control harder than it needs to be. Your numbers jump, and you're left wondering why. After all, you ate cottage cheese, something you were told was healthy.
The front label says protein-rich and nutritious. The ingredient list tells a very different story, and most shoppers never think to flip the container over. According to the American Diabetes Association, more than 25% of Americans over 65 have diabetes, and another 50% have prediabetes. That means 3 out of 4 seniors are vulnerable to hidden sugars and surprise carbs. Each one increases the risk of complications: nerve damage, vision loss, kidney disease. The stakes couldn't be higher.
Kroger promises value. They promise quality you can trust. But when inspectors document sanitation failures and questionable ingredients hide in fine print, trust becomes a dangerous assumption.
Most people were never taught how to read labels to protect themselves. Stick around. The solution is coming at the end.
If this helps you shop more safely, hit subscribe. It's free, and you won't miss future exposés like this.
At number 5, Good Culture Cottage Cheese.
Good Culture burst onto the scene with sleek packaging and modern, health-focused marketing. Seniors have taken notice too, drawn in by promises of grass-fed milk, live active cultures, and clean ingredients. The branding feels premium, and the price reflects it, often costing twice as much as traditional cottage cheese.
When you pay more, you expect more. Safety, quality, transparency. It feels logical to assume that higher price equals safer food. Unfortunately, that assumption doesn't always hold.
Good Culture markets itself as probiotic-rich, adding live active cultures similar to those found in yogurt. For many people, probiotics can be beneficial. They may support digestion and immune health. The science behind that is real, but it doesn't apply equally to everyone.
For seniors on immunosuppressive medications, commonly prescribed after organ transplants or for autoimmune diseases, live bacteria can pose serious risks. When the immune system is intentionally weakened, even good bacteria can become dangerous. What benefits a healthy 30-year-old could hospitalize a 70-year-old with a compromised immune system.
This risk is rarely discussed. Doctors don't always warn patients. Food labels don't mention it. Seniors assume cottage cheese is harmless, safe, mild, dependable. No one tells them that the premium product they're paying extra for might actually be the most risky choice.
Good Culture doesn't include warnings for immunocompromised consumers. They don't suggest checking with a physician. The live cultures are marketed as a universal benefit, leaving vulnerable people to discover the risks the hard way.
And then there's sodium. Despite the health-forward image, some good culture varieties contain more than 300 milligrams of sodium per serving. For seniors watching their blood pressure, that's a problem. The label says healthy. Your readings may say otherwise.
Clean packaging and scientific language don't guarantee safety, especially for seniors managing complex health conditions.
Why do foods with live cultures never carry warnings for immunocompromised people? Do you think companies even consider seniors when designing these products?
At number 4, Prairie Farms Cottage Cheese.
Prairie Farms is a Midwest-based farmer-owned cooperative. Their marketing emphasizes family farms, American values, and wholesome dairy from people who care. For seniors who prefer supporting farmers over corporations, Prairie Farms feels like the right choice. The imagery of red barns and open fields taps into trust and nostalgia.
The intention may be good. The safety record tells a more troubling story.
Prairie Farms has issued multiple recalls over the past decade. In 2019, cottage cheese distributed across several states was recalled due to potential foreign material contamination.
Imagine opening your container and finding something that doesn't belong there. Plastic, metal, something hard scraping your spoon when you expected soft curds. For seniors with dentures, dental work, or sensitive digestive systems, foreign objects aren't just unpleasant, they're dangerous. A sharp fragment can damage expensive dental work. Swallowed debris can cause internal injuries that require emergency care.
And physical contamination isn't the only concern.
FDA inspections have also flagged pest control issues and sanitation problems at Prairie Farms facilities. Inspectors documented evidence of rodents near storage areas close to production lines. While the company made corrections, repeated findings raise questions about how deeply those fixes actually go. When inspectors keep finding the same issues, it suggests the problems aren't fully resolved, just temporarily patched.
The cottage cheese may look fine, fresh, white, innocent, but contamination can happen at any point between the farm and your refrigerator, and your senses won't always catch it. Prairie Farms promises farm-fresh care and pride, but recalls and inspection findings weaken that promise. Wholesome marketing doesn't mean wholesome practices.
Do you think recalls are rare accidents, or just the ones companies actually get caught for?
Now at number 3, Walmart Great Value Cottage Cheese.
Great Value is Walmart's house brand, found almost everywhere. For seniors on tight budgets, the savings are tempting, often half the price of name brands. When you're living on Social Security, that matters. The label promises you don't have to overpay for basics, but cheap food often comes with hidden costs. Great Value products are made by a rotating list of contract manufacturers. The supplier this month may not be the supplier next month. Quality varies, accountability disappears. When something goes wrong, tracing the source becomes nearly impossible. Consumer complaints include odd textures, sour odors, and containers that appear swollen before the expiration date. A bloated lid is a serious warning sign. It indicates bacterial growth producing gas inside the package. That swelling isn't a packaging flaw. It's biology happening in your food. For seniors, the risks stack up. Many Great Value cottage cheese varieties contain over 450 milligrams of sodium per serving. Eat more than one serving, and most people do, and you've consumed a quarter of your daily sodium limit in one sitting.
What you thought was a healthy snack may have just pushed your numbers into dangerous territory.
The American Heart Association warns that long-term high sodium intake stiffens arteries, strains the heart, and raises stroke risk, especially in adults over 50.
Great value may save money today, but cost you health tomorrow. Lower prices at checkout can mean higher costs at the pharmacy. Walmart promises low prices and dependable quality, but when suppliers constantly change and complaints pile up, trust becomes a gamble seniors can't afford.
Don't go yet. The solution is coming at the end, and it could completely change how you shop.
What's the worst cottage cheese you've ever opened? Share it in the comments below.
At number 2, we have Kemp's Cottage Cheese.
Kemp's is a well-known regional dairy brand throughout the upper Midwest. In Minnesota, Wisconsin, and nearby states, it's been a refrigerator staple for generations. Families grow up with Kemp's. Loyalty runs deep. When something has been on your table your whole life, it feels familiar, comforting, almost like family.
But regional trust doesn't automatically mean regional safety. Kemp's Cottage cheese contains locust bean gum, a thickening agent made from carob seeds. While the FDA considers it safe, many seniors report digestive side effects after consuming foods with this additive: bloating, gas, and stomach discomfort. You eat cottage cheese expecting a nourishing snack and end up uncomfortable for the rest of the afternoon, wondering what went wrong. As we age, digestion naturally slows. Foods that never caused problems at 30 can become an issue at 70. Extra gums and thickeners can overwhelm an aging digestive system. That's not weakness, it's biology. Unfortunately, food companies rarely adjust formulations with seniors in mind.
But additives are only part of the concern.
In 2023, Kemp's came under scrutiny after a surge of consumer complaints about premature spoilage. Customers reported opening containers days before the expiration date, only to find sour smells and curdled textures that made the product clearly unsafe. Kemp's blamed cold chain disruptions during distribution.
And that explanation matters. Cottage cheese is extremely sensitive to temperature. From the moment it leaves the factory until it reaches your refrigerator, it must stay cold consistently. A warm delivery truck, a warehouse delay, or a malfunctioning store cooler is all it takes to compromise safety without any visible warning.
You trusted the date on the lid. The date didn't protect you.
Kemp's markets itself as Midwestern quality you can rely on: local farms, careful production, dairy done right. But when spoilage complaints rise and cold chain issues appear, nostalgia becomes a poor substitute for real food safety. The container looks the same as it always has. The brand still feels trustworthy. But familiarity does not equal safety. Trust has to be earned with every single container. Why do dairy companies always blame distribution when products spoil? Shouldn't responsibility cover the entire journey from farm to fridge?
And now at number 1, the cottage cheese brand seniors should avoid above all others. Highland Dairy Cottage Cheese.
Highland Dairy operates across the South and Midwest, supplying stores in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and beyond. Their red and white packaging is instantly recognizable. Founded in 1938, the company has nearly 90 years of history, decades of availability and competitive pricing that built consumer trust. That trust has been badly misplaced.
Highland Dairy has the most troubling food safety record of any cottage cheese brand we reviewed. Multiple FDA warning letters, numerous consumer complaints, a clear pattern of problems that should alarm any health-conscious senior.
In 2018, the FDA issued a warning letter citing serious violations at Highland's facility. Inspectors found inadequate sanitation, poor temperature monitoring, and failures in their hazard control systems, the very safeguards meant to prevent contaminated food from reaching consumers.
These weren't paperwork errors.
They were fundamental safety breakdowns. For seniors, Highland cottage cheese is especially risky. Some varieties contain over 500 milligrams of sodium per serving, among the highest in the industry. 2 servings can push you past half your daily limit before you've eaten anything else. For people managing high blood pressure, heart disease, or kidney problems, that level of salt is dangerous.
Your doctor told you to limit sodium.
Highland makes that nearly impossible. Kidney function naturally declines with age. High sodium foods force already struggling kidneys to work harder, accelerating damage and increasing the risk of serious complications. Every salty bite adds strain to organs already under pressure.
And then there's the contamination risk.
Consumer reports described visible mold inside sealed containers, slimy textures, and sharp ammonia-like odors, classic signs of bacterial growth. These aren't isolated complaints. They point to ongoing quality control failures. You open the lid expecting fresh curds and find something that looks unsafe to eat. For seniors, bacteria like Listeria or Salmonella aren't minor inconveniences. Symptoms may start with stomach upset, but can quickly escalate to dehydration, fever, hospitalization, or life-threatening infection, especially for those with weakened immune systems.
Highland promised tradition, value, and care.
FDA warnings and moldy containers tell a different story.
This isn't about one bad batch.
It's about a system that repeatedly failed, and seniors are paying the price with their health.
If butter can legally contain metal fragments, what else do you think slips through without ever making the news?
And cottage cheese is just the beginning.
These same risks, hidden sodium, bacterial contamination, questionable additives, exist in yogurt, milk, cheese, and other dairy products sitting in your fridge right now.
Now here's the good news. There are cottage cheese brands that deserve your trust.
Safe option number 1, Nancy's Organic Cottage Cheese.
Nancy's has been making organic dairy since 1960, long before organic became a marketing trend. Their cottage cheese is USDA certified organic, made without synthetic hormones, antibiotics, or pesticides.
But the real difference is safety. Nancy's facilities undergo rigorous third-party audits. Their products consistently pass independent bacterial testing. They have never received an FDA warning letter, and consumer complaints are rare. A clean record like that doesn't happen by accident. It reflects priorities.
For seniors, Nancy's checks all the right boxes.
Sodium levels under 300 milligrams per serving. No carrageenan.
No locust bean gum.
No mystery thickeners.
The ingredient list is simple and honest. Cultured organic milk, cream, and salt.
Even better, Nancy's clearly labels specific probiotic strains and counts, allowing seniors, especially those who are immunocompromised, to make informed decisions with their doctors. That level of transparency is rare and valuable.
The texture is naturally creamy.
The flavor is clean and fresh.
And the safety record speaks louder than any marketing slogan.
Nancy's costs a little more, but peace of mind is worth far more than a few dollars saved.
The second brand truly worth your trust is Organic Valley Cottage Cheese.
Organic Valley is a farmer-owned cooperative made up of more than 1,700 family farms across the United States. Unlike massive corporate dairy companies driven by shareholder profits, Organic Valley exists to support sustainable farming and produce food that's genuinely better for people. Their cottage cheese stands out for several important reasons. Organic Valley uses milk exclusively from pasture-raised cows grazing on certified organic land. These cows are never treated with synthetic hormones or routine antibiotics. That matters, especially for seniors. Antibiotic residues in conventional dairy contribute to antibiotic resistance, a growing public health threat. When you truly need antibiotics for a serious infection, you want them to work. Reducing unnecessary exposure helps protect their effectiveness.
Another major difference is transparency. Organic Valley maintains full supply chain traceability from farm to finished product. When you buy a container, you're not getting anonymous milk blended from countless sources. You're buying from identifiable farms held accountable for quality. That kind of traceability creates standards industrial producers simply can't match.
Sodium levels are also more carefully managed. Most Organic Valley cottage cheese varieties stay under 350 milligrams per serving, and the ingredient list remains refreshingly simple. No questionable thickeners, no unnecessary additives, and just as important, their food safety record is strong. No major recalls and no FDA warning letters tied to their cottage cheese.
Consumers consistently praise Organic Valley for freshness, clean flavor, and reliable quality. Unlike brands plagued by reports of early spoilage or strange textures, Organic Valley maintains impressive consistency from batch to batch and store to store. Yes, Organic Valley costs more than conventional cottage cheese, but for seniors who understand that food is medicine, that extra cost isn't a splurge, it's an investment. An investment in your health, your independence, and your peace of mind.
Now you know which cottage cheese brands to leave on the shelf and which ones actually deserve your trust.
Not all cottage cheese is created equal. Some quietly put your health at risk behind wholesome-looking packaging. Today, you learn the truth about 9 brands hiding real dangers and the 2 that stand out for doing things right. Protect yourself every time you walk down the dairy aisle.
Subscribe now, and if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you're never caught off guard again.